work of Elie Wiesel?
Yes.
Okay. So part of his work is, it's basically mastery over your current self. It's not buying into the narratives that are told to you or even your circumstances. That's the way I would, summarize it. Would you add anything to that?
Well, I would think, and because it's been a long time, but what you're saying and how you're talking about him, it's interesting because we've used him as an example in what he speaks of. Because if we were to look at, let's say, the metaphor of a Matryoshka doll. So even when we're in our adult self, we have a different way of being with a friend versus another friend,
Right.
and so those are all these little nesting dolls
It's
on
still
the outside,
you,
right?
but it's different parts of you.
Right.
Right.
But then in the inside, that little tiny doll, that's core, it's solid. It can never be hurt. That's that essence that even when we talk about him, we're talking about how even in these horrible places, this part, it may get really dormant. It may be buried. It may be take some almost thawing,
Right.
but it's always there.
Got it. And so the value, I mean, in what you're doing, and I know I heard like as opposed to say traditional therapies where you're kind of more or less trying to manage, manage so that your emotions don't cause dysfunction,
Exactly.
okay, in your life. Instead, you're trying to get to what's going on, and so that you can, is it reframe it? Is it
So you can
view
actually
it?
feel emotion because
Okay.
the emotion's going to do the healing, not me, not the other person's thoughts.
Explain how that is. I mean, how is it that emotions do the healing? Is it because they're there, and if you ignore them, they're still there, and
Yeah.
that's what causes the interference? Or
Well, if you the act of ignoring them takes us to another place, and
Okay.
that place in our therapy we have a triangle, and down here we would say is core state or core
Right.
emotion, which is joy, excitement, sadness, grief. But up here, if we feel into it and it feels icky because no one's ever helped us be with a feeling or shamed us for that, we go to shame, guilt, or anxiety over here. We go to our defenses. So if that's our entire life, is I almost feel something, oh my gosh, and so I'm bouncing back here, we end up in a state of horrible anxiety, depression, a combination, burnout, insomnia, and I feel like that's what we're seeing in our society.
and so in that basically it's because we've taken the Matryoshka doll, the Russian nesting dolls as a example. It's like we've created this ironclad exterior
Yeah.
that things can neither get in or out of.
Exactly. And
So
so when you say it that way, the defense mechanisms are those exteriors.
yes, exactly.
And so there are times when I'm helping someone drop in, one defense comes, and then all of a sudden, when that one kind of moves to the side, the almost opposing one. And so sometimes it's even just the act of saying, can that part move aside? Sometimes really helps so we can feel. Other times it's even just naming. Did you notice this right here was kind of like oil and this is like water? And notice how when they fight each other, then we get stuck. But they're both trying to help you. And they really did. When they were formed, they were so necessary because it really wasn't safe to feel when they were formed.
And I know that this isn't as deep as I'm sure you go with people, but one of the things that, I've been on, like a health transformation journey. And one of the things I had to notice about my activities is when I was tired, I would want to eat, usually junky foods or like sodas or, carb type stuff, because that gives you that, physiological boost of energy. And it was very helpful to me to start to go, hey, when this feeling came up, like I'm craving X, Y, or Z, hey, I really appreciate my brain. I'm saying to myself, my former self or the self that's trying to help me not get overly tired, hey, I appreciate that suggestion, but
Right.
tired, we're tired, not hungry, and so make a choice that's aligned with rest and the health, that we really want, that all of us really want. And I think it's kind of funny to talk about this idea that even referring to myself, talking to myself as that we, but that seems very in line with what you're suggesting.
Yes. And what you just did and just having that conversation with yourself is literally probably soothing a part that at one point in time, that was the way to function. You didn't have the opportunity to go, ooh, do I need to rest? And so being able to, and the other piece of that, which I think is fascinating, is for most of us, because we didn't have, let's say, people in our lives that were very emotionally grounding and able to really help us to just feel really seen. I have to say, food is one of those things that can mimic that so well.
Right.
And yet we don't get to ride the waves of emotion. We just eat and then the feeling's over.